Hey, solos. So, I have another bonus episode for you that is really just a wonderful interview with Claire Stein, who is a woman based in the UK who also goes to Disney World. Yes, Disney World, Florida, solo. And it's just been really wonderful to connect with all these people that want to share their experiences. I think I'm going to have a lot more bonus episodes with talking with different people about their solo vacations coming up, which I'm really excited about. But in case you don't know who I am, hi everyone, I'm Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Solo Magic, the podcast about the magic of going to Disney World solo. As I've already said in this episode, it is a bonus episode interviewing Claire Stein, who's based in the UK, about her experiences going solo. And the information for connecting with her, all of her social media is down in the bio, but make sure you also connect with me on social media. I am Disney underscore solo underscore magic. Did I say that right? Disney underscore solo underscore magic on Instagram. And now I am also on YouTube and Facebook. So again, check those links in the bio for connections with me and for Claire, and enjoy just the most fantastic conversation. I had such a wonderful time. And if you want to connect, make sure you send me a message on Instagram because it would be wonderful to talk with you. All right. Enjoy listening to Claire and I talk about solo travel. Claire, thank you so much for connecting with me and like agreeing to talk for this podcast. I'm so excited to hear about your Disney journey, your solo journey. So can you introduce yourself and like tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm Claire Stein. You can find me across all sorts of social media, ClaireFreedomStein. And my Disney journey, I guess, started when I was about 12. Don't worry, we won't cover every year, but my first Disney trip was really when I was 12 years old with my grandparents, coming out to Florida. And of course, you've never seen anything like it, but that was my first touch into the parks. Growing up, I think it was, around that time, the first Disney film I'd come into contact with was The Little Mermaid. So Ariel was my princess, and that's kind of where my Disney journey started. And then having Disneyland Paris right across the water, I probably went there for the first time, when I was 17, 18. And then coming into it as an adult, I think my first grown-up trip with my then husband, I was maybe 23, and then having the kids, and it became the place that we went. We had a family timeshare out in Orlando. So we would come over every couple of years, but later on, the last few years, I'd say the last, 2024 now, I'd say the last 6 to 7 years has really been where this Disney Parks thing has started to take over, become my favorite place to come. And the trips became less about the kids all the time. And now there's a really interesting split between coming solo or maybe just with friends, and then the kids as well. So now I'm kind of doing it all across Paris and Disney World, the cruise line, and I've been out to California for D23. That was a solo trip going out to California.
That's cool.
Aulani, I ended up going around the world. I travel all over the place. So I ended up in Aulani and then into California for the Disney 100. That was just launching. And so Disney has just become this destination wherever in the world, but Disney World really does feel like home. So it's evolved into this love of solo Disney trips as well. It's nice to share it with other people, but there's something really special about doing it by yourself as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And I would it's kind of interesting, although you said like for you the last 6 or 7 years have really ramped it up. But when I've talked to a lot of people that go solo, it seems like there was something with the pandemic that really ticked over an interest of going more and going by yourself and really kind of embracing that. Do you like is there any correlation in your head between like the pandemic and like your increase of travels, like doing Alani, doing California, like, all that stuff together, or no?
I think there are several components into that. I was already in my big Disney trip era before the pandemic hit, but being in the UK when it did hit, there was this travel grief. There was this Disney
Yeah.
grief almost because we literally weren't allowed to leave the country. An interesting story, to get to the 50th anniversary of Disney World, I actually went to another country for 16 days to be able to get into the States. I was that dedicated about it. Um, but I think for a lot of people there was that longing to get to a Disney park. So there's been this excitement where people have been going more frequently and getting this all out of their system. So I think some of that has come into play. And also, I think we all sat back and there was a lot of, meditation and evaluation of what was important to us. What did we miss? What did we value? In my case, I ended up putting together a bucket list of 100 goals. This
Cool.
life project, I'm up to number 22.
That's amazing.
It's so much fun, but it really, I think it has driven us all to get out there and live, that we only live once. A lot of us experience losses as well. So I think this waiting and saving it for one day, maybe others like me are out there going and living life now because we value it more. So there might be an element of that. But yeah, I've got some more Disney goals to smash on my list.
Well, I definitely want to hear about them. But, I was thinking too that, like, for me, I went a lot. I mean, for the most part, as a kid, it was a vacation option available for the most part growing up. And then I went after a conference in February 2020, and then everything closed down. And I think that part of it is like there's so much uncertainty in the world and so much like heightened politics, but this is this like kind of perfect place where there like is no politics. I tell people it's like the most political unpolitical place and the most like unpolitical political place there is. And like I went with my mother right after the pandemic, or like right when the restrictions were being lifted, and like everyone was wearing masks, and it just felt like I felt like kind of a society that you could trust, whereas right now everything feels so uncertain. And so maybe that's also part of it, or maybe that's just for me and everyone's kind of coming with their own like reasons.
I think there's something to that too, that Disney, people often refer to it as the Disney bubble,
Yeah.
and there is something to that. And you're right, it's a place where, specifically solo traveling, you always feel safe. The world
Yes.
is okay. Once you go under those arches, everything is good. The cast members are nice to you. It's a world where generally everything is just better and happier and lighter. So I agree with you. It is a wonderful escape from reality.
Yeah. And at the same time, like there are so many touch points of reality, right? Like to be able to connect with people that you would necessarily connect with. Like it's kind of an interesting blend of not just having like blinders onto reality, but being able to like practice a different type of reality, right? In which people are friendly. And then that like everyone is kind of like working towards a similar goal.
Absolutely. It's funny because I am now friends with a group of ladies where we really did come together through the pandemic, chatting every day or video calls. And it was based around our love of Disney. And that 50th anniversary trip was the first time we all stood together, had met all together. The Disney community and these relationships and everything is so strong. So you're right, we build these relationships through our mutual interests, and in this case, Disney. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
Now, Claire, you kind of alluded to this, but you haven't said it outright. And when I say alluded to it, I mean by the way you said the word "wata." And the fact that you are close to Disney Paris, do you want to like just identify like where in the world you are, and that like when you are traveling to Disney World or to Disneyland, like these are big trips.
Absolutely. So I am based just outside of London. So when I go and see Peter Pan and Wendy, me and Wendy, we talk very similarly, and Mary Poppins, so many British characters. But yes, so for me, going to Disneyland Paris, I'm very fortunate that I can hop on a train actually and get on through that way. Um, although you can fly, but it's close, and flight time is under an hour from me to Paris, so it's not a big deal. Coming over to Orlando, that's about an 8.5 hour flight, but the weather is just better.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can say what you want about Florida weather, but like it's sunny.
I'll take the sun every time, the guaranteed sun for sure. Even those summer trips where I say I'm never doing August again, there I am, I'm back.
Yeah.
So
I went to Scotland with my former partner. He was there for the summer and I was going to go visit him at the end of August. I had worked all summer saving up. I had all these cute summer dresses and I get there and I was like, what has happened to the summer? But then you go to Florida in August and then you're like, what has happened to the summer? Because you're just there's like a lot of liquid on your face and it's not from the rain, it's from the sweat.
I agree. The sweat, you sweat in places you didn't know you could sweat. If you come to Orlando in the summer, you have to be prepared with the cooling towels,
Oh
and the
god, everything.
UV umbrella has become essential kit for me. The UV umbrella is now a godsend.
Well, I was there a couple weekends ago and I got a parasol and it was a game changer. And like cuz I was there for Dapper Day, so it was part of the outfit. And then the next day it was kind of overcast, so I didn't bring the parasol and I was like, "Why am I sweating out of my eyeballs?" Oh, you need to go back and get the parasol. So, yeah, I do have a UV umbrella that I brought to a different trip, but I'm gonna try that. That's a good that's a good tip. Yeah.
It's a game changer, and being a proper umbrella, it's perfect for those Florida
Yeah.
thunderstorms and
Yes.
rainstorms as well. So it works for everything year round.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so could you talk you mentioned a little bit about like both going with people or meeting people down there and doing your solo trip. So could you talk a little bit about your solo story, especially because you mentioned that you have kids and so I can guess even though I don't have kids that that's a different kind of decision-making process when you're solo traveling and you have kids at home.
Right. So I actually have four kids, three older ones. I consider them grown, but they're 20, 22, 24. Then I have my 12-year-old. So as they got older, I felt better about leaving them behind, if you like. The older three have had more than their fair share of Disney trips. My 12-year-old also, they've been Disney spoiled, really. They've been incredibly lucky. So it was mum's turn. And my best friend is over there in Florida. I had a group of friends over there. So that first time going solo wasn't as scary. And I think for my daughter, that feeling of going without her, she knew this wasn't it. She knew she would be going back to Disney. But there was also things when you really research Disney parks and Disney World, you realize how much is available just for adults.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've even been quoted as saying that Disney is too good for kids. When
100%. 100%.
when you look at the tours, there was certain tours I wanted to do that children aren't able to do, like backstage tours, the bars and the lounges that not necessarily children can't go to those areas, but it would be fun to explore that side of it. I did Wild Africa Trek a couple of years ago, which had been on my bucket list for a long time. For anyone that doesn't know, that's kind of a behind the scenes at Animal Kingdom Park where you're going on rope bridges and all sorts. So there are so many activities that adults can do that kids, they're going to have to wait a little bit. It is more adult orientated. But the idea of being free to make those decisions without having to consider a child's eating habits and dealing with picky eaters or frequent toileting or getting two people or three people or your whole family out the door, there's a real joy to only having to consider yourself, having done it both ways. But I was ready to do it. It was a place I felt very confident in. But I'd say, if you've never done it, even you are going to feel safe. These cast members are incredible. They will guide you every which way. You only have to ask. It's not a bother to anybody. So I just felt so, so comfortable with the idea of doing it. I said it feels like my second home. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you traveled by yourself? Like, did you do solo trips before Disney? Was that something that's part of your life?
I think Disney was the first solo trip I did. Actually, I remember way back, oh my goodness, before my daughter was even born, and the older three were with their dad for the weekend. And I made this decision I was going to drive to Disneyland Paris, which you can do. We have an underwater tunnel. And I did the whole thing in 24 hours. There was a special deal with the ferry company.
Cool.
And I just did it. And everyone thought I was completely crazy. But it accomplishing that, doing that road trip solo, I guess it gave me that sense of confidence. When it came to going further away, I think I had done a solo trip to Disney. We'd lost a really close family member. My best friend was over there, and I needed that. And even my partner at the time said, "Go to Disney.
Yeah.
Go." And it's a healing place for me. I've done other things solo. I mean, I've just been around the world last year all by myself, and Greece, and I've been Georgia. I mean, I'm up to 31 countries now.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So a lot of them I do solo, but yeah, so Disney is the place I come back to, and
You
yeah,
know, it's funny because I travel by myself a lot, like both for work and for pleasure. And I mean, I always think about safety, but I've told this story on the podcast a few times. It wasn't until I was sitting in a Skyliner with a woman who was like, "Yeah, I'm here by myself as a single woman. Like, I don't need to worry about safety." I was like, "Oh, there's safety concerns here?" Like it was amazing that it's like it is a world in which that safety element is just completely taken out. And I think for a woman like and or a femme person, like it's really what a surprise, right? To not feel like these particular threats that you always need to be on guard for. And for people that haven't done any travel, let alone travel by themselves, like this is a such a good place to kind of get to start to know yourself in these solo situations because you are so protected both by cast members but also by other visitors who all know what you're there for, right? So
absolutely. I mean, when I did, for instance, Thailand, and I'm thinking so many aspects of security, like don't have a drink, don't be out late at night, don't do this, don't do that. At Disney World, there is security everywhere, and I'm more than happy getting the last bus back from a park, walking through Boardwalk. I'm thinking about when I stayed at the Dolphin, walking all through that back area where there's hardly anyone around, and I know I'm going to be okay because
totally.
security is just around the corner. You don't even know they're there. I promise you, they are, to anybody listening, they are everywhere. They might not be in uniform, but they are all around, and they have such good systems in place. So people would be on it. But yes, I mean, you do have to think about the personal property you're carrying. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people are opportunists. They will go for that bag if it's left lying around, things like that. But physically, yes, it's an entirely different world, a whole new world, you could say,
If you will.
if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I just really like to emphasize that because, again, people who are fearful of any sort of travel by themselves, which I can completely understand. It's like, oh, no, no, don't worry about that here. Like, of course, like take your precautions, but you don't need to be on guard. Like, I was in New Orleans for, well, I wasn't there for Mardi Gras, but it was Mardi Gras. I was there for a work conference and it happened to me Mardi Gras as well. And I, like, every time I stepped foot out of the hotel, like, I never knew what was going to happen. Everyone was around partying, drinking, and it didn't feel like a very safe environment, especially because I was there to work. I wasn't there to like party.
Right.
But then I flew actually to Disney right after New Orleans before I went back to Toronto, and I was like, oh, so much safer here. It's so much easier here. I don't need to like watch my back as I'm walking down the street to try to get dinner. Like, yeah, anyway.
It's that Disney feel, as I mentioned, I did this round the world trip, and it was South Africa, Thailand, Singapore,
Wow.
and
Wow.
then into Australia, and then landing in Hawaii. And I had been on the road for weeks. And I checked into Aulani, walked into Aulani, and they said, "Welcome home." And it was these smiles and everything. And I burst into tears. And I
Yeah.
went, "I'm back, I'm home, and it's Disney." And I forgot that how it felt to feel like that. And I just went,
Yeah.
"Oh, everything's okay again."
Yes, yes. Yeah, no, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. To talk about your kids for a second, or especially your younger one, I
Sure.
think that well, these are all assumptions. But like when you have children, I feel like there is this feeling that you might have to bring them. But I like how you pointed out the fact that you can do things with when you don't have the kids. I mean, you can do a lot of things when you don't have the kids, but like literally there's some age limits on things. But also I think that especially if you have a Disney mom, like it's not like it's necessarily a special place for you if you're 12 and you've already gone like a million times. And I think that now like having it just for you allows this kind of new generation of memories and experiences that can only help like invest in the relationship you also have with your children. Because you like come back and you're like, "Oh, I saw these cool things." And now you get to see mom like be this like independent person. And I can't imagine like how cool that is also for a 12-year-old.
Yes, I think Lexi is my daughter. I think for her, I mean, she loves going to the parks, and she's becoming a little like me, that she watches the vlogs online and she'll send me things about hidden Mickeys, and she knows all the secrets and tricks. And I'm so proud as a Disney mum. I'm so proud, So we have a great Disney relationship. I think I think as they get older, school has to become a priority,
For sure.
and working around school vacation times. In the UK, if the kids are taken out of school, we actually get a fine.
Yeah,
There
right.
is a financial penalty. So I didn't want to just limit it to school holidays either. And the cost financially, the flights,
Yeah.
everything. The tour operators know they bump up the prices of everything. That's a really good point, actually. Traveling solo, you save a bundle. You save so much money, be it tickets, food, everything. So that's probably why I can afford to go as much as I do, because it's just me, for Genie
Mhm.
Plus, all these things. I'm only paying for me. So there's an element of that. But when I do take her, we were just there in February as a family, and it made it, from my eyes, it made it more special. The trips I take with her are less frequent. They create these magical moments. It was a birthday trip for her. Um, it's great to have that balance. I don't feel those Disney frustrations. I'm not missing out on anything.
Yeah.
She's getting the best of me. I think she is inspired. She's becoming inspired to see more of the world, do more, and she will have the confidence to go do this solo travel as well, and Disney as well. It was lovely last summer. I surprised her actually. We went on the Disney Dream, 11 nights, Northern Europe, just me and her.
Amazing.
And I got her all the way to Copenhagen without her knowing what we were doing. She didn't know till the morning we got on the ship. So creating those, her time, her Disney time is very special and magical. The moments we create together are so incredibly special and magical. And so she knows that when I go off, it's not going to be the last she sees of Disney. She's so understanding about it. And we just have the best time together. But I also have an amazing time by myself. So we've got this really nice balance now.
Yeah, when you said she knows it's not going to be the last time she'll see Disney, I was thinking you were going to say she also knows it's not the last time she'll see me, like to see you. And I think that's actually kind of an important point too, right? Because like that relationship between like moms and children can get stronger when moms can be like their full selves. It's not just mom, but like here I was like a woman,
Yeah.
right? Separate as being a mom. Like I think that can really create really great extra parenting relationships.
I think, I mean, that for me is a whole other podcast, about uh, ladies, or moms we are so much more than mums. It's very easy to lose ourselves when we start bringing up children. You know, I said my oldest is 24. So for 24 years, I've had that mum role. Not just that, you know, as a partner too. And sometimes we can
Mm-hmm.
completely lose ourselves. I am all for solo travel, about finding yourself, regrouping, finding what you love, not just for everybody else, but you are a person. You only have one life, and it's okay to make you a priority. You know, our mental health sometimes can take a dive. We get exhausted. It can feel like we are on the hamster wheel of life. We forget all our passions, all our loves. You are a person and you are entitled to be happy. And the instinct is to put everybody else first in your life. It's a maternal instinct, it's a caring nature, it's all of those things. And you have to forgive yourself and you have to set the guilt aside and say, it's okay to put me first, because when you do, you are going to be so much more effective as a carer, a parent, a friend, all of those things. Have a rest. Have a rest from it all, lock it away. Also, we live in a world with all this modern technology. We now live in a world of video calling. We have, you know, WhatsApp. We have um, Instagram Live. We have, not that that's my first choice of how to communicate with my family, through watch my Instagram, but
That'd be amazing if you did.
they pop up sometimes whenever I'm living on
Yeah, yeah.
YouTube or whatever it may be. They pop in. I'm like, oh, hi, hi. But we have the ability to communicate so easily right across the world now. So they can check in anytime with me. I can check in anytime. There's even been an incident where my partner said, she's not going to sleep right. Can you drop into her Alexa? So I don't know where I was in the world, but I dropped in, Lexi, go to sleep now. Oh my gosh,
Oh
it's
my
mum,
god.
my bedroom Alexa. So you've got that as well. You can check in as often as you feel you need to, but don't feel guilty about taking that time for yourself. Everybody gets a vacation. There is no vacation from being a mum.
Yeah.
So carve that time for yourself. You will come back feeling so much better, I promise.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because especially if you became a mom like really early in your life, like you might not have had the opportunity to really think about what your passions are, like really think about who you are as an adult woman separate from being a mom. And I think that solo travel allows that. And a place like Disney cares for you, right? Like it cares for you, it protects you, it keeps you safe. And so you can practice these other parts of yourself, I think, in a way that maybe you allow for your family, right? Like it can care for you, so for you to do that. And that's what that's one of the things about this podcast that I'll say a lot. Like, I'm providing advice, that things that work for me, but really what I'm trying to do is to show you, like, my decision making for something, to make a decision that was right for me, so that you can think about your own decision making, what would be best for you. Like, if I'm looking for these three things, then I'm going to do this next, right? But if you're looking for totally other three things, like, what are those three things? Why do you want to do them? And then to figure that out so that you really do take the opportunity to become your full self, to be able to practice that full self in a really safe environment like Disney.
Right, completely. And, you know, everyone's priorities are different. Traveling solo, it sounds awfully selfish, but only having to think about what's important to you and your priorities is a game changer. It's so incredibly freeing. Disney trips are a great place to allow you to do that, and maybe not anything deeper, but if you want to sleep in, you can sleep in. If you are someone who gets up at the crack of dawn and no one else normally wants to, you can go do rope drop,
Yeah.
go sit, you know, go sit on a lounge, especially as a mum. Let me tell you, to the mums out there considering doing this, the difference between running around after a child in a splash area or near a pool and making sure that they're safe versus you with a book and taking a cocktail to your lounger and not having to worry. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, that applies to most beach places, but, you know, or pool places. But yes, being able to have your priorities, and having the space to figure them out is
Mhm.
massive.
Yeah.
That's really give yourself the space and the time to work out what it is. You might have lost it. You might have lost a sense of who you are. So taking that time to feel like a full person again, oh, game changer.
Yeah, and like the literal space. Like Disney is so big that there's so many things that you can do. There's literal like millions of different landscapes for you to like practice and explore that. I love that sense of space. What is your favorite park? Because if I remember correctly from when we were like typing, when I'm talking about like landscapes and ecosystems, that like goes into your favorite park pretty well, actually.
Oh my gosh, yes, my favorite park is Animal Kingdom, and that goes across all the Disney parks I've been to so far. Disney's Animal Kingdom is my zone. It really is. And it ties in with what a lot of what we were saying. Animal Kingdom is the least chaotic to my mind. Anyone that's walked through Pandora, you'll be thinking, what is she talking about? But trust me, Animal Kingdom, by its design, if you ever look to the left or right, you will see these secret hidden paths. You are free to go down them. I think a lot of people think they're not allowed. But if you look at the Tree of Life, the centerpiece, all around Tree of Life are these hidden pathways. Go check out these carved animals. My favorite thing in all of Walt Disney World is, and unfortunately, it can't happen so much now, but if you stay late at night after sunset and the park is open, my favorite thing is to go to Pandora and watch the sunset and Pandora start to glow. I love nothing more than grabbing a night blossom from Pongu Pongu. I was going to
It
say a seat, but it's really carved rock work. You find a piece that is comfy enough to sit on, and you just sit back and watch it all glow. And the noises from the animal life all starts to come to life. So it's so zen for me to sit in Pandora with it glowing. It's wonderful to go down these animal trails, these tree trails. I'll see a new carving I haven't seen before. Um, oh, I just love it. I love that park for so many reasons. Pandora's my favorite, obviously, but there is something about it that while I technically know it's a theme park, it just feels like something else to me. So it has my heart. Absolutely.
when I was there the last time, I was actually like recording for the podcast so that because it was four parks in one day. So I was making little voice notes the whole time. And I at one point I was like, geez, you cannot look anywhere in this park and not have the most gorgeous thought about manicured but not manicured view ever. Like every single sight line is so breathtaking.
It truly is. The Imagineers went above and beyond with this park. Joe Rody being
Yeah.
the greatest of all time. He is the GOAT. But you're so right. The views, the vistas, and I'm not just talking, the savannah is such an accomplishment
Oh, for sure.
on its own. But you're right. If you take a second to look at the detail, this is the beauty in Disney parks generally. You go looking for the details. With Animal Kingdom, you just look up. There's breaks in the bushes to look through at something else. It's phenomenal. Just walking through in the morning, even there are animal habitats even hidden through the entrance through the oasis
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah, it's the most stunning, beautiful place.
It really is. I totally agree with you. And in the episode that I posted this week about Animal Kingdom, I like the tips that I provided were like be prepared to learn something because there's so much to learn, but also like be prepared to just take it slow so you can really appreciate it. Do you have like a particular tip more than what you've shared that you'd want to share for people going to Animal Kingdom maybe for the first time or maybe just solo?
Sure. I mean, the common advice people give on Animal Kingdom, and it's riled me for years, is everyone goes, oh, it's only a half day park, you'll be out of there. And I go, what are you talking about, a half day park? If they're saying that, they're not doing it right,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, it's, I would say, if you're taking your time, it's my favorite park to take photos in. If you are a photo person, go hunting for those beautiful photos. They are everywhere, as we have alluded to. I like to do, and everyone will say it's a kid's activity. I disagree. If you're by yourself and you want to interact with the park more, and you will explore it, go sign up for Wilderness Explorers, which these kiosks, it's themed up, and you get a booklet and it's different challenges in there. Um, don't worry, the cast members won't mind one bit if you're an adult signing up, and you'll do the wilderness call and be initiated. But you will get so much information from doing this. Also, take a look at the tours in the Disney website. There are so many behind the scenes tours, so you can get up close with the animals. I talked about the Wild Africa Trek earlier. So if you're a fan of the savannah, that takes you to a whole other part of the savannah on your own private jeep, and you're having lunch over the savannah. Oh my gosh!
Have you done
But
Savor the Savannah?
I haven't done Savor the Savannah. My list is very, very long of things to do.
I did that for my birthday last year, and I was like, "Ooh, this is amazing." And so Wild Africa Trek was one that I was saving to like do with my sister because I thought anyway, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick of waiting for her. So I'm planning on doing Wild Africa Trek for my birthday this year.
Yay! I did it by myself, and I wasn't made to feel left out or anything like
Oh
that. The
no,
cast
no, no.
members are phenomenal, take great care of you everywhere I go, actually, and this applies to everything. Other people do want to talk to you and say hi, and because it's a smaller group, we all felt, very comfortable talking to each other. You will find someone to sit with at the tables on the Boma, having this food. Don't discount anything because you're on your own. Go and do it. Disney is the perfect place to do it. They're going to treat you so well and be so kind.
Yeah, I totally love that. I think I wanted to wait for my sister because I thought she'd like get a kick out of it. Right? Like I when I thought of my sister as someone that would enjoy it, but then it was like, oh, now if you're only just waiting for people, then you don't get to enjoy it the same way yourself. Like, yeah, and so that's yeah, it's I think that's one of the points of solo travel, especially to solo travel to Disney. Like if you just keep waiting for someone that's going to enjoy it as much as you know you're going to enjoy it, you if you're waiting a long time, then you might as well just kind of dive in. Do you I mean, I feel like we could talk for another like 4 hours, but do you have like one final tip you want to share to solo travelers or people who are like solo curious?
I mean, the obvious one is just go do it.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
aside
done.
from
I'm just gonna
as
edit the whole episode to just be that.
just do it. That's the new logo. Just do it.
Yeah.
I would say we've touched on a lot of it, but I would say don't be afraid that you are going to feel lonely,
Mm.
because you will have people to talk to. You'll be amazed how many people you talk to in a day. The most fun I've had actually as a solo traveler, the cast members. It comes back to the cast members. But when I'm in a store checking out merch, or my server at the table, they have the most wonderful stories that they're willing to share with you about their time in the Disney parks. Always ask them about their memories. A good one, always ask the cast members for photos. If you're worried about getting the photo or you're struggling with a selfie, look around for a cast member. They are more than happy to help you. My favorite thing to do actually is now when I see family groups struggling with selfies, I will always offer to take a photo for them. I love doing it. I always
It's
get them
good
to check.
karma too.
Absolutely. So I love doing those, but I would say go on the Disney website and really, or vlogs, Disney vlogs. We live in a world with
Disney
so
podcasts.
Disney podcasts. I'm sorry. Yes, Disney podcasts. Um, do your research. And if you find things that you're interested in, go sign up and do it. Single rider lines. Single rider
Mm.
lines are phenomenal. Everest and Test Track. I can always get on Test Track. Ignore the wait times. You will feel like a VIP walking past everyone and going, ha, ha, ha,
Yeah.
I'll be out in 10 minutes. Single rider lines. But I think once you've done it the once, you will never, you won't regret it, and you will never feel that fear again. Disney is
Yeah.
the most welcoming, wonderful place in the world to travel as a solo person. So face the fears and go.
I love that. I love that. I want to slightly color slash counter one thing you said right at the beginning. You're like, people will talk to you all the time. And I just want to put a little asterisk to that to say if you want them to. Because
Right.
some people might also just travel by themselves because they want to be in a little cone of silence. And I think it's good to like just for those people to like know that no one is going to like barrage you, but like there is always a friendly person that will talk to you if that is something that you want for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I did not mean that you are going to be bombarded with voices all day long. I couldn't cope with that. It's simply that if you want to have an interaction with a person, if it's really bothering you not having that human contact, it's available and you'll find it through your server at restaurants, cast members, in stores and around. When you are in lines for rides, sometimes you're going to be in there for a while and you might strike up a conversation with someone. Countering that, maybe have headphones in your bag or something like that. So if that family is starting to irritate, put the headphones on. You can't hear them. You
You
can,
know,
but
I was at a Be Our Guest restaurant the last time I was there, and it was the end of the four park day, and I was like, this restaurant is so loud. It was like 9:30 at night, and it was still so loud. And all I wanted to have was just like put my earbuds in just to like and like listen to Beauty and the Beast music, like just to be a little bit more in a cone of silence. So I actually think that's a excellent tip too, that if you want that extra little bit of privacy. But I always found that like when I started traveling by myself, like I wouldn't I'm a friendly person generally, but I wouldn't go out of my way to try to like engender conversation. But then I realized like you saying, like how many cast members have stories and want to be able to talk and like share all these things. And I was like, oh, this is such an excellent extra part of the trips to be able to like weave your own experiences with the stories of the cast members and other visitors. And one time I was there solo and I was getting actually the whole trip wasn't solo, but I was doing a lot of solo elements myself. And so I was at Epcot at night. It was one of the food festivals, and this family was like joking around, and it was I don't know, it was funny. I kind of like interrupted their conversation to like explain what their own joke meant, and it was very very funny. And they get their food and then they just turn back to me and they're like, are you coming with us for the rest of the time? And at that time I was like, oh no, that seems weird, but I think now I would be like, sure, let's do it. Yeah, like there are just so many communities if you want to really participate in. You don't feel alone unless that is something you want, and then people really do respect that as well.
for sure. Yes, I mean there is a whole Disney loving community out there. If you are nervous about going by yourself and all those things, and you can connect with people, you'll connect with people in the parks. But you have the choice not to. Talking about World Showcase, and I was thinking
Yeah.
of one of my favorite spots to disconnect and sit back when the parks seem crazy, the Japan Pavilion, and I love to go up to the top where the restaurants are above Mitsukoshi. If you sit around the edge there, nobody comes up there. You can sit back, watch Spaceship, but it's also a great spot for Luminous, any fireworks. But there are a lot of hidden spots where you can just take a minute. That's the beauty of traveling by yourself. No one is
Hmm.
going to hustle you to, we have to go do this, we have to go do that. I'm normally the one hustling myself, I
That's
have to
right. Yeah.
say. I have my goals for the day,
Yes.
but when I want that quiet time, there are so many little spots that you can just hide away in. The back of the Canada Pavilion is another one with the waterfall.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful one. Down Main Street, go down the sides of Main Street. So there are so many places that you can go if you want to be by yourself, you've come by yourself, it's becoming overwhelming. Look around for those little hidden spots. Go to the back of things, go down the side of things, not the main thoroughfares, and you'll be able to find that little space just for you too. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the tips I gave for Magic Kingdom. Like, actually just find a time and a space just to rest. Especially if like your lady's of a certain age, like maybe you need a little break in the day with a little coffee or something. But like I think it's also a good opportunity just to kind of consolidate your experiences to be like, wow, look at what I'm doing, right? This is amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
those moments are really humbling. And that's when the tears start because I'll sit there. Sometimes I'll get my cheesy chili fries, just an example. I'll get my chili cheese fries from Casey's Corner. That's one of my guilty pleasures. And I'll sit at the hub grass and a cavalcade might go by. I'm looking at the castle. I'm by myself and I'm just like, wow, look at where I am in the most magical place. I'm here, I'm eating my favorite snack, and the world is just right. In this moment,
Yeah.
everything is right. Yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I love that. I love that. I saw this social media post that this guy that went for the first time with his family, he had said like to his wife, like, if this is the most happiest place on earth, why is everyone crying? And I was like, then you don't get it, buddy. Stay away.
That's the other great thing about going solo, though. If Disney evokes your emotions, which it does me, I am a sobbing mess. If you go by yourself, who is there to judge you? And the person across the way or next to you giving you that funny look, you're never going to see them again.
Yeah.
So you can sob your heart out in the best way. For me, it's phantasmic. It's phantasmic. Mickey on top of that mountain,
Yeah.
and all of that. I hear it. I'm gone the whole show. Happily ever after. But just the music, or just those moments where you are in the moment, or you've witnessed someone else having a magical moment.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Totally.
gosh. So you feel free to cry away because no one's there to judge you, and I love that. And
And
that
if they
goes
are
for
judging
singing.
you, they don't belong there. But you
Abs-
do. You belong there.
Absolutely. And that rule goes for singing, dancing, skipping, character hugs, whatever you want to do. You are never going to see these people again. You are free. So you just go right ahead and be your best self and be your biggest self.
Well, I love that. I love that. Be your biggest self. Claire, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. I feel like we could do this all afternoon, and I feel like we should definitely do it again. It was just really wonderful to hear your perspectives and to really like solidify solo travel, especially someone that is making such a big trip across the pond, if you will, to come to Walt Disney World. And I just, it feels like such a privilege to have you as part of this podcast. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Samantha. It has been a joy to talk to you and good luck with everything in the future. And we may just have to do this again for sure.
Hundred percent.
Maybe the next time, maybe we'll do a trip together, something like that. We will come together and do this in the park. So, yeah.
Well, this other woman that I interviewed, and her, so she's known as Disney Bound Solo. The episode is up, and she's like, I started this solo journey, but I made such a wonderful community, and that is really what I am kind of getting from connecting with so many people through the podcast. Now, you mentioned that you have a YouTube channel. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to see more about your travels?
Sure. So you can find me at Claire Freedom Stein. So that is on YouTube, that is on Instagram. I'm more time sensitive on my Instagram, usually if I'm on a trip, so you can see all the clips from the parks. But the Disney vlogs do go up. Right now, we've just had Disney Wish, the Disney Wish. That was with adult friends, actually, no kids. So that was a
Cool.
group of us went on the Disney Wish. I'm uploading my Disney parks after that. We've got the 11-night Disney Dream Northern Europe cruise coming up.
Cool.
Um, Back to Disney, but the next week or so, I'm going to be putting out some park challenges. I love park challenges.
Yes.
And it was every ride in Epcot in a day. And I did 31 all Magic Kingdom attractions in a day. I wanted to see if I could still do it. Now I was a little bit older. Sure enough. Well, I don't want to give too much away. There was some things interfering, but I'm all for challenges and exploring, and that is me solo all the way, these vlogs. So yeah.
Well, that sounds amazing. So, the link to all of Claire's social media will be down in the description of this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple or Spotify, so you can find her that way. All right. Well, I think we should say goodbye for now. For now.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much.
It was great meeting you, Claire. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Solos. I hope you like this episode and all the episodes of Solo Magic, the podcast about the magic of going to Disney World solo. Please remember, if you can, to support the podcast by reviewing, by rating, by subscribing, by sharing with others, and so we can continue to build this community of solo travelers who love going to Disney World and find it the most magical ever. Also connect with me on Instagram, Disney_solo_magic, as well as on Facebook. Can't wait to talk with you next week. Bye.